Hello chess friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video we're going to have a look at a chess tactic, and it is one of the most common chess tactics out there, and it's called as double attack. Every single chess player might have heard of the double attack. It is super common and super useful. So let's dive straight into it. We're going to look at 6 wonderful examples, again full of sacrifices as usual. These are really great examples, and not only are we going to learn something, but we are going to also have fun while doing it. So this is the first example of double attack. Basically, it's white to play and win the game. I'm going to tell you a few things, few hints, which will make you spot this tactics very easily. All right, let's dive straight into it. White to play. If you want, you can pause the video and try to find the move that white should play. You're going to look out for two things. Always in every position, you have to look for the loose pieces, the pieces which are not supported. The queen on a2 is a loose piece, remember that. And the exposed king, the weak king. You can see the king is vulnerable over here, slightly vulnerable on this diagonal, kind of opened up. Something can happen over there. So, two things you need to take care. One is a loose piece and one is the exposed king. And you have to basically combine these two things and see if it works. So, the move that white's gonna play is based on the same principle, attacking the loose piece and the exposed king at the same time. So the move is bishop to h7, a beautiful move. Sacrificing the bishop, sacrificing the queen, both the pieces are absolutely free. None of them can be captured. Let me just have a look at what happens if he takes our bishop. Then you take his queen, and that is enough to win the game. Of course, we are materially ahead, absolutely winning. Queen up. What happens if he, after bishop h7, what happens if he takes our queen? Here comes the point. The move bishop to h7 was not only designed to attack the queen. You can see that we are attacking, our queen attacks his queen on a2, but at the same time, what we are going to do is we are blocking the rook on h8, who can no longer defend the h6 square, and in case he captures, that's what we do. Bishop into h6, the bishop on h6, give a check, and that's a checkmate. Again, you can see how the bishop on h7 blockaded the rook on h8 successfully, and while because we did a double attack, he was not able to deal with our multiple threats, and that is basically what is called as double attack. Now, second example, second fun example, here we go. So white to play and win the game, again using the tactic double attack. So find out all the vulnerable squares in the black's position, and as you can see, the king on h8 is kind of already thoda sa weakened. It's a little bit weakened on h8, and there is a way that we can attack these weaknesses as well as the king. So let's spot the weaknesses. h7 is weak, of course, it's pinned. That is a tactical liability. h7 is weak, f7 is weak, king on h8 is weak. How do we combine all of these things together to form the double attack? Here comes the beautiful move. If you want, you can always pause the video. It's always a good idea to pause the video and compare your moves and see how you did. This is a very good way of improving at chess. So there you go. First move, bishop takes on f7. Well, our queen was already hanging, of course, but we are not satisfied with that, so we hang another piece. Two of our pieces are now hanging. None of them can be captured. Of course, the threat is knight g6 checkmate. So, for example, queen takes queen is answered with knight g6 checkmate. Basically, after bishop into f7, you remove the defending pawn on f7, and there comes a checkmate. Wonderful checkmate. Beautiful coordination with all the pieces. Of course, so the queen cannot be captured. What else can he do? He can capture our queen, of course. We have, I think, seen this. Here we just play knight g6. He can take our bishop. In that case, as usual, the pawn on f7 was a defender, and now you can go knight g6. There we go. It's a double attack. Fork. King moves. You just take the queen. Boom. And something normal like over here. He can't really capture us because queen takes f7 would be winning. Basically, more or less, this position is simply gonna win us the game. All right. Excellent game, excellent position. So let's dive into our next example. As you can see, the star move of this game was bishop takes f7, sacrificing the bishop. Basically, two of our pieces are hanging, and still we are winning. If he takes a queen, knight gives a mate. If he takes a bishop, knight again does his magic and gives a double attack. That is basically a double attack. So going back to a third example now. So here comes the third example, another beautiful tactic full of sacrifices. White to play and create a double attack that wins for white. This time you just have to be a little bit careful because you can see black is already creating some serious threats. One of which is, of course, queen to g1 checkmate. So white has to do something immediately. He just cannot hang around, fool around. So he has to make a serious threat of himself. So the move that white's gonna play, if you want, pause the video and try to find the beautiful move that white will play. It is again a double attack. It has to do. It has to fulfill multiple purpose. So rook to g5. If this is the move you found, wonderful. You are a great chess player. This is a really tough move to find. Of course, you're hanging the rook. You're hanging the pawn on f6, and of course there is also an option to exchange queens. So there's a lot to calculate. The point is the queen is kind of overloaded over here. The queen is a defender of the f7 pawn, and after this we attack the queen. At the same time, there is a huge threat. So we're gonna look at that. Let's say something like queen takes rook. In that case, you can see the queen is no longer defending the f7 pawn, and that's why knight takes f7 is a checkmate. Alright. He can also take our queen. Again, our pawn and the rook covers the square, so knight takes f7 is a mate. What else can he do? We are basically threatening to capture the queen with our rook, so he has to react somehow. Queen takes pawn is a possibility, of course, and here we just have to be a little careful not to go queen e5, because queen e5, queen takes e5 would be a check to our king. That is a bad news, and after this we're going to capture. Not enough to win. So in this position, after he captured our pawn on f6, what you have to do is queen to d4. So when he captures, basically you pin the queen over here, and when he captures, knight takes pawn is a checkmate. This is a corner mate, thanks to the knight and rook. Going back again, he can't really capture the rook. If rook takes rook, queen takes is winning. This and this, and everything just wins. I mean, there are 100 million wins over here, 100 ways to win the game. Going back in this position, rook g6 is again possible. Then we can take. If he takes the knight f7 mate, if he captures back, just take the queen, and this is more or less gonna be soon over. Just knight e4, knight f6, and queen h7 would be a mate. There are, as I said, 100 million ways to checkmate black in this position until you lose your queen, and that's not one of the ways. So in this position, rook g5 was the star move. You sacrifice the rook. The point being the queen is unable to move because the queen is really defending the pawn on f7. And after captures, queen to d4 is a beautiful move. You're sacrificing the queen. You can see your queen is hanging, your rook is hanging. His rook can capture us, his queen can capture us, and yet everything that black plays here is simply losing. What a beautiful example. Alright, let's jump on to a fourth example now. So jumping on to a fourth example, this is the one. Again, it's a double attack, and this one is more or less easy. As you know, our puzzles have beautiful sacrifices. I don't think you guys will have any problems finding this, but of course I want you to calculate till the very end and find the checkmate or winning material for white. So white to play, double attack, pause the video and try to find the beautiful combination, the entire combination if possible. That would be really good. So white to play and win. Alright guys, here comes the first stunning move. Queen takes knight, sacrificing the queen simply in order to open up lines. Again, the knight, the rook and the bishop are more than enough to create a havoc around the king. So g takes, so pardon me for that, I think I jumped down too much. Queen to f6, g takes, of course, otherwise we are just a piece up, right? So he has to capture, and there comes the idea. Knight g e4 is a double attack. Basically the threat is to capture on f6, and when the king moves, the king has two squares, h8 and h7. We are going to look at both. If h8, then knight takes f6, attacking the queen, at the same time threatening rook to g8 Arabian mate. This is a dual threat, it's a double attack, and this moves basically wins. Now if he wants to stop the mate, he has to go knight h7 or knight e6. In both cases we just take this guy and we are materially ahead, totally winning position. Alright, going back in this position, after the move, after we sacrifice our queen, of course, let me just go through it again. Beautiful move, knight g e4. He can also try king h7, and here comes the point. Knight takes. If he goes back, that's again a double attack. You can see that is a double attack fork. If he goes back, Arabian mate over here. If he comes forward, then again you don't really need to capture the queen this time, because our bishop is just waiting for this moment his entire life. You're gonna push forward the e4. That's a check. Only move is to block. Captures, and again you have a beautiful checkmate with three pieces: the rook, the knight and the bishop, terminating the black king. Beautiful example. I really love these examples. Alright, let's jump on to a fifth example. Alright guys, here is our fifth example. It's black to play and win the game. This is a really tough one because the move is not so obvious at all. It's really subtle, but if you look at the minute details in the position, like the weakness, the weakened pieces, the vulnerable pieces, loose pieces, and the king, you will get the answer. Again, just ask yourself which are the weak pieces in white's position. And second question, of course, how is the white king vulnerable, and where exactly is he vulnerable, on which square, which diagonal? So there you go. It's white. It's black to play. Put yourself in black's shoes. Pause the video and try to find the difficult move that exists in this position. Okay, I hope you've paused the video because the move is really tough, and the idea is to open up this the third rank, and this is why it's so difficult. It's not at all obvious until you ask yourself some very basic questions. What are the basic questions? What are the pieces that doesn't have support? Rook on c1 doesn't have support. One thing to remember, queen doesn't have support, and the king is weak on the back rank. Now you have to combine all of this together in order to create a double attack. Here comes the move. Pawn to c4. Of course, now basically it creates a lot of threats. We attack the knight, we attack the queen, and a few other things. So what happens if rook takes? Then obviously rook f1 wins the game. Queen takes and rook takes would be a checkmate. Obvious back rank checkmate. What happens if queen takes? We're gonna simply take the queen, and that is winning. Not much of a debate. The main question is what happens if he takes with the pawn. This is the point. Now you're gonna play queen to a3. It's a double attack. You attack the rook, you attack the queen, and basically it's more or less game over. If you take this guy, then rook f1, rook takes, and rook takes f1 is a checkmate. You can't do that. After queen a3, you can also move your rook over here. Now you just exchange. Again, go to the back rank, mate over there. Something like queen d1, also possible, but then you take the rook, takes, and check, takes, more or less ends the game again. So going back after the move c4, the entire idea is to open up this the third rank in order to attack the two vulnerable pieces and the back rank, of course. So it's combining the two weaknesses and creating a double attack on them. So queen a3 is a beautiful double attacking move, no matter what he does. In fact, engines are somehow suggesting moves like knight f6 just in order to prolong the game. You're gonna capture the material, of course, and in the future we are gonna win. Just this is just winning material, more and more material. So of course the star move of the game was c4. This was the idea. This was the beginning of an idea, and after this, queen a3 is a double attack. This is the key move to the position. Again, what you have to do is look at the weaknesses and look and combine them together in order to create a double attack. So hope you enjoyed this excellent chess video. I would have shown you one example more, but I think I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna post it later on, the last example, so you guys can solve it. So until next time, see you guys. Bye.